Alright, Tigers, here we go. Unit 1 Review Podcast, Principles of Government, Things You Need to Know for the Test. We talked about what's on the test prep, so here's where we go. So basic definitions. Definition of government, definition of what a state is, and this an institution through which society makes and enforces its public policies. Okay. Characteristics of a state are these four: population, territory, government, sovereignty. Make sure you're clear on all of those points. Okay. We talked about what the government's impact is on daily life. You can see that right then and there. Democracy, there's a definition. People are sovereign, and the government guarantees rights to the people. Okay, so the different types of governments, make sure you know this. There's two different types that we'll focus on. Autocracies, in which the government is controlled by either one person, a small group as an oligarchy, a king or a queen as a monarchy, and a military dictatorship, or a republic, where you see people rule themselves in some way, shape, or form there. Make sure you're clear on both of those points. Remember, you can always hit pause as you're reading through all the things that go through here. Okay, here's a good breakdown of what the types of governments look like in a flow chart. Okay, other things at this point. Make sure you're clear on how we classify governments based on the geographic distribution of power. It's either unitary, with everything being centralized, federal, in which there's central and local, and confederation is just a loose connection of independent states. Okay, we also talked about what are the purposes of the government found in the preamble of the Constitution. There are 6. Okay, I'm not going to read them to you. You can hit pause and see at that point. We'll sort of move on. Okay, philosophers, right? Things we talked about. So, remember on the test, focus on the philosopher. What were their belief structure and how was that found in the Declaration? There's Hobbes. Life and nature is nasty. Bruce, in short, he did believe in the social contract, however, that had to be made. Locke said people are born with inalienable rights, life, liberty, property. He also believed that government had a limited power, and the best one was accepted by all citizens. There was no such thing as an absolute monarchy; should be rejected. Natural rights come from nature, okay, not a king. And if the government fails its obligation or violates people's natural rights, the people have the right to overthrow it. Okay. Montesquieu believed that it's natural for rulers with absolute power to use the power in a corrupt manner. So there's where you see we need to spread out the power over 3 branches of government, the idea of separation of powers and checks and balances, which we'll see today or later on in the legislative, executive, and judicial. Rousseau, guys, believe that people are born good. They're just corrupted by bad things around them. So the best government is popular sovereignty, or a vote of all the people. This is the general will. This is also an example of the social contract, and that majority rules. Okay, we talked about Thomas Paine. Make sure you can use the information from the readings in Thomas Paine and what he said with regard to the government and why people should be free as well. Okay. The next thing we talked about, guys, were reasons for the revolution. There's a proclamation line of 1763. Remember, keeping British citizens on one side of the line and avoiding conflicts with the French and the natives on the other side of the line. Stamp Act, a way to raise money after the French and Indian War to prove that everybody paid the tax. We talked about the anger. We talked about the riots. We talked about all of these people burning in effigy and being crucified and all those things. Here comes the Sons of Liberty and Daughters of Liberty. Okay, so the colonial boycotts were effective, and the British eventually repealed the Stamp Act, showing the fact that through this resistance, the colonists can stand up to the British. Boston Massacre was a event which drew hundreds of thousands of people to the American side. Here is the etching by Paul Revere. We said it wasn't exactly what happened at that point. The Gaspé, the colonists were smuggling and took down a British naval ship off the coast of Rhode Island. The Tea Act resulted in the Tea Party, another tax. The first meeting of the Continental Congress, there's our boy Patrick Henry, where should we fix relations or establish a new government? This is where we decided to stop all trade, further causing things to go downhill at that point. Lexington and Concord is the first battle. Even though it's an unofficial start of the war, you start to see violence break out here. And the conclusions that we drew from those, July 1776, there's the Declaration. Remember, 3 different groups of people: patriots, loyalists, and neutrals. Remember, majority of people were patriots or neutral, not the loyalists. This is a quick review of all those events we just covered, right? You can go through and click on that however you need to see all the things that we discussed. Quick review again. There's Locke. These are the things, hint, hint, that people have at that time, right? Where can you find these issues? So there's the 5-man committee, life, liberty, and property. Okay. There's Locke's beliefs. There's a committee of 5. There's Adams. There's Sherman. There's Livingston. There's Jefferson. There's Old Ben, right? Remember, TJ is the one who wrote most of it. We talked about the deleted passage, slavery eliminated out of it, and sacred was replaced with self-evident to talk about the lack of religion that should be there. Richard Henry Lee made the resolution on July 1. There were 13 colonies, remember? We said 9 of them were in agreement. New York abstained. Pennsylvania, Delaware, and South Carolina were waiting on other things. Eventually they will come through. The only state that will not vote yay is New York. And July 2nd, ladies and gentlemen, is when the Declaration of Independence is approved. John Adams said, this is the day we should be celebrating, and for some reason we're not. Podcast over in 6 minutes. Good luck tomorrow on the test. Wish you nothing but the best of luck. Go Tigers!